Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Ahmad Hidayat Haziq bin Haziq, metric number BB231101114. So today I'll be presenting on part 1, construct appropriate graphs or charts to compare the relative frequency and cumulative relative frequency between the two metrics. So first of all, we will look at the data for both satisfaction rate and retention rate. As you can see here, I have prepared a table for both customer satisfaction score and customer retention rate. Okay, so for the next part is to convert the data of both satisfaction score and retention rate into graphs, appropriate graphs. So here are the four charts that I have made for both relative frequency and also cumulative relative frequency. As you can see, for the relative frequency, we have in the satisfaction score, we have most businesses score between 85 to 94%. And for the retention rate, the scores are more spread out with peaks around 65 to 84%. And for the cumulative relative frequency, which is the line chart, we can see that for both satisfaction and retention is increasing steadily and more gradually, reaching over 80% cumulative frequency for satisfaction. And also for retention, it shows that it has wider variation among companies. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Hello guys, my name is Muhammad Yusri bin Muhammad Yusuf. My metric number is BB23110356. I will present part 2, calculate and compare measures of central location between the two key metrics. The first one is mean. The mean is the average of a set of numbers, which is sum up all of the data and then divide by total of the data. So the first one is the mean customer satisfaction score is 84.23%, which means that on average companies are scoring quite high in customer satisfaction. The second one is the mean of customer retention rate is 74.07%, indicating that about 3/4 of customers are retained on average across these companies. This average gives a clear overview of overall performance in both customer satisfaction and retention among the companies in this sample. Let's look at how to calculate the median for these data sets. The median is the middle value in a data set when the numbers are arranged in ascending order. For this data, since we have 30 companies, which is an even number, the median is calculated by taking the average of the 15 and 16 values in the order list. For the customer satisfaction score, the 15 and 16 values are above 85, so the median is 85.0%. While for the customer retention rate, the 15 and 16 values are above 74, so the median is 74.0%. This means that half of the companies have a satisfaction score below 85% and half above. Similarly, half of the companies have a retention rate below 74% and half above. Let's move to the mood, which is the value that appears most frequently in the data set. Looking at the table, we can see the mood for each metric. For the customer satisfaction score, the most common values are 85% and 88%. This means that these two scores appear more often than any other scores in our data set. Because there are two modes, we call this a bimodal distribution. For the customer retention rate, the most frequent values are 68% and 80%. Again, since two values occur with the same highest frequency, this distribution is also bimodal. Bimodal distributions are important to note because they can indicate that there are two different groups or clusters within our data. In this case, it suggests that companies tend to cluster around this specific satisfaction and retention rates. So the comparison for mean, on average, customer satisfaction 84.23% is higher than customer retention 74.07%. For median, the median values also show that customer satisfaction 85% generally trends higher than retention 74%. And for the mode, the most common satisfaction score is 85%, while for retention it's 68%, indicating that while satisfaction tends to peak around high scores, retention varies more widely. This difference suggests that high satisfaction doesn't always equate to high retention, indicating potential influencing factors such as pricing, competition, or customer loyalty programs.
My name is Norimni Fajrina binti Roni, and my matrix number is BB23110720. I will continue my part, which is part 3, calculate percentile and construct box plot for each of the two key metrics. The formula is LP equals to bracket N plus 1 bracket P divided by 100. First, we began by organizing the data of customer satisfaction score from 30 local businesses in ascending order. For the 25th percentile position equals to 7.75 between 7 bracket 79 bracket and 8 bracket 80 bracket equals to Q1, which is equal 79.75. For 50 percentiles position 15.5 between 15 bracket 85 and 16 bracket 85 bracket equals to Q2, which is equals to 85. And for the 75 percentiles, the position is 23.25 between the 23rd bracket 89 bracket and 24th bracket 90 bracket equals to Q3, which is the Q3 is 89.25. So next, we calculate percentile for customer retention. The formula is the same with the customer satisfaction rate. We also sorted the retention data in ascending order. So first, 25th percentile, the position is equal to 7.75 between 7 bracket 68 bracket and 8 bracket 68 bracket equals to Q1, which is equal to 68. For 50 percentiles, position equals to 15.5 between 15 bracket 74 bracket and 16 bracket 74 bracket equals to Q2 and also equals to 74. The last one is 75 percentiles. The position also same with the customer satisfaction rate, which is 23.25 between 23rd bracket 80 bracket and 24th bracket 80 bracket. So the Q3 is also equals to 80. I will continue with construct box plot for each two key metrics. The blue one is for customer satisfaction rate and the orange one is for customer retention rate. For customer satisfaction rate, the minimum is 70 and the maximum is 93. For the Q1 is 79.75. The median Q2 is 85 and Q3 is 89.25. For the customer retention rate, the minimum is 60 and the maximum is 88. For the Q1 equals to 68, the median Q2 is 74 and Q3 is 80. So that's all from me. Thank you.
So hello everyone, my name is Mizan Kamila binti Aswandi. My metric number is BB231105522. So today I will explain to you guys about part 4. So for the range, range is the formula of range may refer to the difference between the maximum and the minimum values in the dataset. The formula is range equals to maximum value minus minimum value. Based on the data, for the range customer satisfaction score, Gian Martino is the maximum value, which is 93%, and the minimum value is the Teping Tapir, which is 70%. So 93% minus 70% is equal to 23%. So the range for customers retention rate is the maximum value is Gian Martino, which is 88%, and the minimum value is Sugar and I, which is 60%. So 88% minus 60% equals to 28%. So the comparison, a wider range of customer satisfaction scores compared to retention rates indicate that satisfaction level vary more significantly, suggesting that retention may be influenced by factors other than satisfaction alone. Second, mean absolute deviation. So first, to find MAD, we must calculate the mean by add up all the value in dataset and divide by 30. That is number value of the data. For CSS, the mean is 84.23. For the CRR, customer retention rate, the mean is 74.07. And we have to subscribe the mean from each data point to find how far each it is from the average. And we just ignore the negative sign. So meaning all the numbers become positive. And lastly, add up all the deviation and divide by 30, the number value of the data. The result will be the MAD for the customer satisfaction score. The MAD is 4.88, while the customer retention rate, MAD, is 5.74. So the comparison is CRR has a greater MAD, that's that retention rate vary more from the mean than satisfaction score. This is based on yearly research indicating retention was less stable by business compared to satisfaction. Next, I will explain about variance and standard deviation. I will use the formula given above. So the variance and standard deviation for customer satisfaction score is the variance for CSS is 35.98, while the standard deviation is 5.99 or 6. To calculate the variance and standard deviation, first, calculate the mean of CSS score. Second, subtract the mean from each value to get the deviation. Third, square each deviation, sum them up, and divide by the total data minus 1 to get the variance. And lastly, take the square root of variance to find the standard deviation. So the variance for CRR is 49.17 and the standard deviation is 7.1%. So for the comparison, first, presence of variability in both metric. The result indicates that both customer satisfaction and customer retention metric demonstrate some degrees of variability as evidenced by their calculated standard deviation. Second, with the dispersion in retention rate, the standard deviation is for customer retention is 7.01, is marginally higher than that for customer satisfaction is 6.0. This indicates that retention rate vary more noticeably around the average compared to satisfaction score, suggesting that customer loyalty may fluctuate more than customer perception for satisfaction. So the third, moderate variability overall, considering the percentage scale 0 to 100 of this metric, both standard deviation 6.0 and 7.01 are relatively modest. This indicates that despite some differences, both customer satisfaction and retention rates generally remain fairly consistent within the analyzed group of companies. So the last one is coefficient of variation, CV. The formula for calculating as CV is standard deviation over mean. The result is usually expressed as a percentage to make it easier to interpret. So to calculating CV for customer satisfaction score, CSS, the standard deviation for CSS is 6% and the mean is 64.23. Substituting the value into the formula, 6.0 over 64.23 equals to 7.12%. So to calculate CV for customer retention rate, CRR, the standard deviation for CRR is 7.01% and the mean is 74.07. Plugging the value to the formula, 7.01 over 74.07, so the result is 9.46. So So the comparison is relative variability. The CV for CRR 9.46 is higher than that of CSS 7.12, indicating their retention rate vary more relative to their average compared to satisfaction score. This suggests that customer retention is less predictable, while satisfaction level tend to more consistent. Second, so consistency and stability. A lower CV for CSS indicate that satisfaction score are more stable and clustered around the mean, reflecting uniform customer perception. In contrast, the higher CV in CRR point to greater inconsistency, suggesting that customer loyalty is influenced by a wider range of factors.
Hello everyone, my name is Nursoila Binti Aziz. My metric number is BB231101998. Now I'm gonna present for part 5. So this slide shows how to calculate and interpret the sample covariance and correlation between two variables, which is customer satisfaction score and customer retention rate. So there are two samples in this present. The first one is sample covariance and the second one is sample correlation coefficient. For covariance, measure the direction of the linear relationship between two variables, and for the correlation coefficient, it's standardized measure ranging from -1 to +1, showing the strength and direction of the relationship. So the covariance tells us whether the variable moves together, but correlation tells us how strong and in what direction they are related. As you can see, the calculation that I've made in that toolbox, which is the total for covariance is 39.8115 and the total for correlation coefficient is 0.9456. So the correlation coefficient is 0.9456, which indicates a very strong positive relationship. This means as customer satisfaction increase, customer retention tends to increase significantly. Next, for the interpretation, let's start with the covariance. The calculated value is 39.8115, which is positive. This tells us that as customer satisfaction increases, customer retention also tends to increase. In simpler terms, companies with more satisfied customers are likely to retain them longer. However, it's important to note that covariance only shows the direction of the relationship, not how strong it is. So, while this tells us the relationship is positive, it doesn't say how strong or consistent it is. Now, the correlation coefficient helps us understand how strong and how accurate that relationship is. In our case, the value is 0.9466, which is very close to 1. This tells us that there is a very strong positive linear relationship between customer satisfaction and customer retention. In other words, companies with higher satisfaction score tend to have significantly better retention rate. So in summary, both statistics confirm that improving customer satisfaction is likely to result in higher customer retention for this business. So now these are the box plot of customer satisfaction score and customer retention rate. We can see that most customer satisfaction score range between 70% to 93% shown by the blue box. Meanwhile, customer retention rate range from around 60% to 88% represented by the orange box. Statistically, we confirm this early with a correlation coefficient of 0.9466, which is very close to 1. That means there is a strong positive relationship. As one variable increases, the other tends to increase as well. In summary, this blog spot not only supports the data but also clearly shows that investing in customer satisfaction is likely to lead to better customer retention. That's all from me. Thank you.